So when I first started wheelchair tennis, the most difficult thing that I found was mobility and pushing the chair around the court. And for me, I think one of the most difficult things was actually the physical aspect, that I was quite weak physically. And as I got stronger, I really felt more comfortable in the chair. And also the strapping. I really wanted to feel like I was part of my chair. And that's why I thought strapping was so important, that if I was strapped in correctly and nice and tight in the chair, then I felt more comfortable and then I could maneuver the chair around. And one of the other really important things for me was, as I started to develop my pushing, was technique and learning the correct way to push the chair. And once I could do that, I felt more comfortable with the technique, more comfortable with the strapping, more comfortable in the chair. And then as I started to get stronger physically, I was able to push the chair around the court. Let's look at the technique for pushing. Specifically in the beginning, the hands, where the hands should be. Obviously I'm grasping the racket with my racket hand, and I've put that on the rim of my wheel. Now some players actually prefer to put it on the tire itself, and some prefer to put it on the rim. It's really personal preference. For me, I felt more comfortable having the racket handle resting on the rim. Now my left hand, or non-dominant hand, is grasping the whole wheel, the tire and the rim. I felt more comfortable doing it that way. Some players just like to grasp the rim. Again, it's personal preference, and you might have to make it work in with your disability. But this was this position for my racket hand, and this was the position for my left hand, or non-dominant hand. And what I would do is I would lean forward a little bit, just in this position. And again, you might have to figure out how that works for you personally and your own disability as to how far you can lean. But for me, I didn't want to lean too far. I didn't want to be off balance. If this was a comfortable position for me, I just wanted to lean forward a little bit. And my elbows were bent, obviously. And I had my hands at the top of the wheel. So for me, this is the power position. Now, as I push towards the ball, I would straighten my arms. That gave me the most out of the push. I just wouldn't do it a little bit, so I'd end up with bent arms. I'd do it that it was straight. Now, the other thing about pushing is the speed. Obviously, you want to get to the ball as fast as physically possible. Now, because we're not doing a marathon, we don't do long spaces between pushes. We don't do long spaces because you have to get from point A to point B as fast as possible. But also, we don't do this either. That might be hitting the wheel quick, but I'm not getting the most out of the push or out of my chair. So I want to do this as fast as I can. As fast as I can. I'm in the power position. I'm leaning forward, and I'm making sure as I go through the push that my arms are straight at the end of the push. Now again, as you're making turns, I'm out of breath. As you're making turns, you might need to hold on to the left wheel, just from a balance perspective. But again, it's up to you and what kind of disability that you have. But that is the basic technique for pushing. Let's look at some more tips for basic mobility, including the racket, shadow swinging without the ball. I'm going to first move out to the forehand side and do an inside turn. So the ball is coming. I've moved out to the forehand side. I've grabbed my left wheel and I'm turning into the court. Turning into the court. Now, as I'm moving out to the forehand and doing an inside turn, I want to have the best possible racket preparation that I can. So as I'm moving out, I can use this left hand to get ready to hit the ball. As I'm moving out, I can still push with this left as I'm getting my racket back with my racket hand. What I don't want to do is move out to the ball, racket's on me. I want to get the racket back as quick as I can. So I'm moving out, still pushing with the left, and getting the racket back and turning into the court. On the backhand side, I'm going to move out and do an outside turn where I'm going to hit the ball, grab the left wheel, and move away from the court. Moving out, hit the ball, grab my left wheel, and I'm moving away from the court. Now I can also do an inside turn on the backhand where I've come over to the backhand side, hit the ball, and I've used my left hand to push my chair into the court. A good way to practice what you're learning in terms of pushing technique and inside turns, outside turns, everything to do with mobility is to do it slowly. Do shadow sprints. Well, actually not shadow sprints. We'll call it just shadow pushing because it's not really sprints until you really get comfortable in the chair and comfortable with your technique. But basically what it is pushing around using the swings without actually hitting the ball. Just so you get comfortable in the chair, doing all the things, outside turn on the backhand, inside turn on the backhand, inside turn on the forehand. And really, once you become comfortable doing those things and learning what you feel like in your tennis chair, then you can really start to speed it up a bit more. And also, it's a good way to practice the technique of the pushing as well. And then once you get the technique, then you can add the swings. And doing the shadow swings is a really good way to reinforce your technique. And it really helps your tennis game.
David and I thought it would be fun to demonstrate some of the mobility and conditioning drills that we would incorporate into our practice sessions. So we're going to show you a few of those right now. Hope you enjoy. First, David will move his chair very slowly, pushing up for the ball with a swing, pushing to the side and up, pushing wide, pushing back, and always swinging, making inside turns, outside turns. Even after he hits, he turns his head, looks across the court, just as he would as if a ball was coming. As he gets more warmed up, I would ask him to push a little bit faster and faster and faster yet. And about this time, he would be ready to throw his racket at me, So we would take a little break. So catch your breath, mate.